Hey guys, welcome to the College Lead YouTube channel, where I talk about how to apply for college, how to navigate your career, and also how to build your own startup. Today, I'll be talking about the additional information section of the Common Application. If you are a senior in high school applying to college right now, this video is just for you. I'll be answering all of your questions from what is the additional information section, how can you use it, do you need to write it, how do you write your response, all in this video. So be sure to watch from beginning all the way to the end. And before we get started, I would love it if you could give this video a like and also subscribe for more content like this. That really helps me to continue making videos to answer your questions like these. Before we dive into the details of the additional information section, let me first show you how to even find this in the Common Application. So let's hop over to the Common app. Okay, great. We are in the Common Application now. So if you navigate to the Common app tab and go down to the writing section, you'll scroll down and see that the third option is the additional information section. Click on that and you'll come to a page like you'll see here. And you'll notice something a little bit unique about this here. Ignore this warning. That was just when I put a space in here and then it said that it was required. So I'll just read aloud the description just to get us all on the same page. Community disruptions such as COVID-19 and natural disasters can have deep and long-lasting impacts. If you need it, the space is yours to describe those impacts. Colleges care about the effects on your health and well-being, safety, family circumstances, future plans, and education, including access to reliable technology and quiet study spaces. For more information, you can check out the COVID-19 FAQ. Do you wish to share anything on this topic? Yes, and then you'll see over here that you'll have a space where you can write up to a maximum of 250 words to describe how COVID has impacted you. Below this, you'll see the normal additional information section, where you'll be asked, do you wish to provide details of circumstances or qualifications not reflected in the application? If you select yes, you'll see that there is an option to add in a maximum of 650 words. Normally, in the time before COVID, you would only have this section here, but because of COVID and all the recent changes that has caused, this section is new. Do note that if you select no for the COVID section, you still have the opportunity to write the 650 word character. If you're wondering what is the difference between the content you would put in this box versus the one up here, then keep watching this video. But a quick answer is that anything you write in here in these 250 words will describe how COVID has impacted your classes, your grades, your extracurriculars, if at all. And then down here will be sort of everything else, and I'll cover the specific topics that you can write about shortly. Okay, so let's hop back to the presentation. So part 1, the do's and don'ts, what you should and should not write about. I'll cover exactly what you probably shouldn't include in the additional information section and also what you should include. The most important thing to remember about the additional information section is that it is optional. If you leave this section blank, that does not necessarily mean you will not get into college. And if you fill out this section, that does not necessarily guarantee you admission into college or even increase your chances. Again, only use this section if you need to. In my college application process, I did not use this section, even though I was homeschooled and could have written about it. I was still accepted to Harvard, got a likely letter from Columbia, and did pretty good overall, or pretty well overall in the college application process. So know that if you do not fill in this section, that does not mean your chances will decrease. That being said, if any of the unique situations that I'll describe applies to you, then feel free to write about it. So you should not use this section to write a second personal statement. I know you have the chance to write 650 words, but the last thing admission officers want to do is read another lengthy personal statement in addition to the thousands of other applications they have to review. Respect their time and don't write a second personal statement. The next thing you should not do is to use this section to elaborate on an extracurricular activity you already listed in the activities section. If you're wondering what the activities section is, check out this other video that I have made before on extracurriculars. The Common Application is already structured so that you can already highlight the important aspects of your different activities in the 150 character limit description that you have for each activity, or each one of those 10 activities that you can list. The next thing you should not do in this section is to provide a copy of your resume. There's no need to copy and paste that into this section. A, the formatting will be terrible, so it will be hard to read. And second, all of this information is already going to be listed in different components of the Common Application. From your GPA, to your honors, to your extracurriculars, heck, your application even has more information than your resume with all the personal statements you'll have to write. So don't add your resume. And last of all, pretty obvious one, is don't discuss any irrelevant information. You want every single bit of information in your college application to tell admission officers that, hey, I am a strong student, accept me into your school. So you can use the additional information section if you have more blank than you can list. And the blank can be anything from family members, to test scores, to significant awards, to significant activities. The reason why I put significant here is because if there is, let's say, a local award that you won that was participation based, or if there was an activity that you did maybe for 1 month in freshman year of high school, there's no need to list that if it didn't really have a significant impact on you or wasn't that impressive. The impressive awards and the activities that you spent most of your time on should be listed in the normal Common Application. Anything else, there's no need to list that. But if you need to, you can list awards that are significant and activities that also are significant. And that will just depend on a case-by-case basis because every student is different. The next thing you can list in the additional information section is any extenuating circumstances that have impacted you. And these can range from a sudden drop in grades. Let's say you went from straight A's freshman year to straight C's sophomore year, but was able to bring it back junior year. There might be a reason, maybe a health-related reason, as to why you had straight C's. And this applies the same thing with test scores. Let's say you got all perfect test scores freshman year. Sophomore year, all bottom. And then junior year, you brought it back up. Let's say it happened because your grandmother passed away and it was something that was difficult for you to emotionally recover from. So in that case, this is something you should write about in your additional information section. Other circumstances you should write about include financial obstacles, health problems, any disabilities, and also sexual orientation and gender identity if it impacted your grades or extracurricular activities. That being said, if you have already written about any of these circumstances in your personal statements, then there's no need to repeat that again in the additional information section. You can also use this section to describe any circumstances with COVID-19 that prevented you from continuing an extracurricular, taking a test like the ACT or SAT or anything else. And any circumstances or responses that you're going to write that relate to COVID-19 should go in that 250 character or 250 word limit text box at the very top that we saw earlier in the Common Application. The second box with the 650 word limit will be for everything else. And last thing in that sort of everything else category will be you can, if you want to, describe your IB extended essay topic. And this is only if you want to. Again, no requirement. So now you're probably sitting on the edge of your seat, really ready to write something in this section. But before you write anything in this section, ask yourself these following questions. And before I jump into them, I just want to give a huge thank you and credit to this admission officer, Jeff, who shared these questions as well as excellent examples that I'm about to show you. So if you want any more information like this, feel free to check out his blog. I'll also link it in the description below. But yes, before you get started on the additional information section, be sure to ask these 5 questions that an admission officer himself said are important considerations for you to have. Okay, so let's hop into those questions. So the first question you should consider is are my experiences different from others? And I will leave this up here and pause the screen and press pause if you want to read through these examples. I will also upload a copy of this PowerPoint deck into the Slack channel that I run for students planning to apply to college. So be sure to join that Slack channel if you would like a copy of this. Otherwise, just push pause every time I cover a question and you can see an example of what you can write about and an example of what you should not write about. So the second question you should consider is this: are there noticeable changes on my transcript? And again, feel free to pause to read through these examples. The third question, am I aware of my privilege? And here are some examples. For the third one, which is my father lost his job, I would recommend providing a little bit more context as to the impact that this had on you, whether it was requiring you to take on a part-time job to financially support your family, and how that caused you to have to drop a few extracurriculars, just more context like that. But if this is a case or circumstance that has happened to you or something similar to this, definitely write about it. The fourth question you should ask yourself is, am I being specific? Am I explaining rather than complaining? And it's often like a fine line to walk across with some circumstances, I know. So here are 2 examples. And again, pause if you would like to read through them. And last question, is this information being included elsewhere on my application? Like I mentioned earlier, there's no need to copy and paste your resume and put that into the additional information section because you have other places in the Common Application where you include that information already. And again, these last 5 questions and also these examples are from Jeff, the admission officer. So feel free to read through his blog, and I'll link it in the description below. So a huge thank you to Jeff, who made this material available. Now I'll cover exactly how to write or fill out the additional information section of the Common Application with a suggested format and template. Okay, so in general, you want to be as concise as possible. This is, again, not a place for you to write another Common App essay. You also want to be as specific as possible. Remember that example where it said, my father lost his job? Well, tell us more details about it. Give the admission officers the context that they need to know to understand how different circumstances have directly impacted you. And lastly, avoid special formatting. You might have noticed this already with the Common Application, but as you copy and paste your responses from, let's say you're working out of Microsoft Word, into the Common App, all special formatting like bullet pointing, italicizing, bolding, anything like that, or sometimes even foreign language words might be removed or just not applied. So as you prepare your response, be sure to avoid special formatting. And here is a way of how to structure your response. It's kind of similar to resume writing. Start with when the circumstance happened, what exactly happened, how long the circumstance lasted, and also how long it impacted you. And lastly, what exactly was the significance or impact. And here are a few examples with the cases that I described earlier in the video. Let's say you want to list an additional award. This is a good way to structure it. In the spring of my freshman year, I received a gold medal and a summa cum laude certificate for placing among the top scorers for the National Latin Exam, level 3 to 4 poetry. I competed with over 7,000 students in my state and scored in the top 8%. So here we clearly see in the beginning portion, we have when, we have the what, which is I received a gold medal and a certificate, and then we also had the significance or impact. And since this was award, it was a one-time thing and there's no need to list how long. So you can flex and edit the suggested format as needed. Let's say you want to list an additional extracurricular. Here's a sample of how you can do that. In my junior year, again starting with the time or when, I was selected through a competitive audition process of 20 students to be the lead dancer in our school's production of The Nutcracker. That's the what. And then here is how long. From November to January, I dedicated at least 4 hours each day to practicing and rehearsing. And here is the significance or impact. In total, I performed in 3 shows to a cumulative audience of over 1,000. This is a very concise and specific answer that does not need any special formatting, that clearly tells the admission officer exactly what they need to know about your extracurricular activity. This is all you need to list. No need to list anything more. Let's say you have an extenuating circumstance you need to describe, particularly related to COVID. Here's one way that you can describe that. So, due to COVID-19, my parents had to shut down our restaurant, which was our main source of income. To support my family, I worked part-time as a driver for DoorDash and Uber Eats. To make time for these jobs, I had to drop my robotics and debate extracurriculars. This is an excellent response because it provides not only the circumstance, but also provides a reason for any anomalies that an admission officer might notice in someone's Common Application, like having to drop a significant extracurricular. And notice how this response doesn't complain in any way, but rather states the facts and provides a reason for any change that may have occurred before and after COVID. And here's one way you can describe a health-related circumstance. In my sophomore year, again with time, I was on my school's varsity water polo team and suffered a concussion during a game. This is the what. It was so severe that I had to take a month off from school and complete my coursework remotely for the rest of the year. I forgot to write that part, but that's essentially what happened, and I'll add that in the edited version in the Slack channel. I frequently experienced migraines, making it difficult to concentrate on school and maintain straight A's from my freshman year. I fully recovered junior year and returned to school, where I was able to dramatically improve my grades. This is a very concise and specific way to describe why there might have been a sudden drop in your grades between sophomore year and the rest of your high school years. And lastly, describing circumstances related to gender and sexual orientation. In my sophomore year, I came out to my parents as bisexual. As devout Christians who believed homosexuality as a sin, my parents refused to accept my identity and constantly tried to fix me. Due to the stress and constant pressure I faced at home, I couldn't focus on my homework, and my grades suffered. In junior year, I found friends who supported me and was able to gradually get my grades back up. This is a very succinct example, and again, there's no need to write about this particular situation or circumstance in the additional information section if this is already something that you touch upon in your personal statement. So this is, again, only if you have not explained this situation elsewhere on your application. Then you can include it in your additional information section. And that concludes the video. So if you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I will answer them as soon as I can. If you found this video helpful, I would love it and really appreciate it if you can give it a like and also subscribe for more content like this. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.